Hey everyone, it's December 2nd, and that means that if today is your birthday, you share it with serial killer David Edwin Mason, who murdered at least 4 elderly victims in the 1980s. And that is him right up there. Born in Georgia in 1956, Mason's family moved to Oakland, California shortly after his birth. He grew up in a strict Pentecostal household, but was an uncontrollable child, setting fires, cutting and choking himself, and even threatening to stab his infant brother, holding a knife to the boy. Mason was often in trouble at school for beating up other children, and his parents reacted with severe discipline, beating him, locking him in his room, and constant yelling. In one incident, he was forced by his mother to wear soiled underwear on his head as a form of punishment. None of it worked to change his behavior, and at the age of 14, he was sent away to boarding school, where he claims he was sexually abused by the staff and other students. He dropped out of school and attempted to become a Marine, but was dismissed after just a few months for discipline problems. By the time Mason was 21, he was engaged in violent crime, being convicted in 1977 of robbery with the intent to commit murder when he stabbed a store clerk with an ice pick during a robbery. He threatened to return and kill her if she called the police, and ended up sentenced to 36 months behind bars for the offense. In 1980, he assaulted and robbed a woman who was returning home, hitting her in the head with his gun. Later that year, he convinced an elderly couple to let him in their home by pretending to sell firewood door to door. He handcuffed them to chairs and stole $47,000 worth of jewelry and coins. These were the least of his crimes, however, because that same year he killed 4 other elderly victims. One was a 73-year-old former employer who had hired him for odd jobs around her home. He used that relationship to gain entry to her home, then tied her up, beat her to death, and robbed her of her valuables. Mason then beat, strangled, and robbed a 75-year-old man, followed by a 72-year-old woman who he killed by bashing in the head with a crescent wrench. His last murder victim on the outside was a 75-year-old woman who he beat and robbed like the rest. He was also wanted in Butte County for shooting and killing his boyfriend while the man was asleep. When he was arrested in 1981, Mason had a sawed-off shotgun and multiple unregistered pistols in his possession. He confessed to the robberies and was sentenced to 124 months in prison. Authorities hadn't yet connected him to the murders, but they put it all together when in 1982, he choked a cellmate to death with a towel and staged the man's body in an effort to make it look like a suicide. At that point, prosecutors had worked up their murder case and he was put on trial for those crimes. In 1984, he was convicted of killing his victims and received the death penalty. After several failed escape attempts, he resigned himself to his fate and refused to participate in appeals on his case, and after a meal with his family, was walked into the gas chamber at San Quentin in 1993, bringing an end to him for good. If this is your birthday, I hope you have a great day. Leave me a comment so I can wish you a happy birthday. If you know someone's birthday it is today, send them this video so they can find out all about their birthday twin. And to David Edwin Mason, I say, happy birthday, you bastard.